Imagine dedicating your entire life to a single goal. You train harder than 99% of the human population. You possess elite genetics, perfect technique, and a relentless work ethic. By any objective measure of history, you are one of the greatest tennis players to ever walk the earth. You do everything right. But you were born in the exact wrong decade. Between 2003 and 2024, men's tennis wasn't a sport. It was a cartel. Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, and Novak Djokovic won 66 Grand Slam titles. They didn't just dominate. They built an impenetrable wall that blocked an entire generation of world-class athletes from ever tasting true greatness. Today, we are exploring the deep psychological trauma of the GOAT generation. The men who had their legacies completely erased. Let's start with Wilfried Tsonga. He had the charisma of Muhammad Ali and the sheer explosive power of a heavyweight boxer. In the 2008 Australian Open, a 22-year-old Tsonga obliterated Rafael Nadal in the semifinals in a display of pure terrifying force. The world thought they were looking at the next king of tennis. But waiting for him in the final was a young Novak Djokovic. Tsonga lost in 4 sets. He never reached another Grand Slam final. He spent the next decade consistently making quarterfinals and semifinals, playing brilliant tennis, only to be systematically dismantled by one of the big three every single time he got close. Then there is the tragedy of Thomas Berdych. Berdych was an absolute machine. He possessed perfect, textbook biomechanics. He hit the ball flatter, harder, and cleaner than almost anyone on tour. In 2010, he did the impossible. He beat Roger Federer and Novak Djokovic back-to-back at Wimbledon. He stepped onto center court for the final, the pinnacle of the sport, only to be crushed in straight sets by Rafael Nadal. The psychological toll of these losses isn't just about missing out on a trophy. It's the devastating realization that peak perfection is no longer enough. Berdych played the absolute best tennis biologically possible for him. He executed his game plan flawlessly, and it still wasn't enough to break the gods. How do you wake up and practice the next day when you know your absolute 100% is statistically inferior to the men at the top? But the most heartbreaking case study of the GOAT generation is David Ferrer. If Tsonga was pure power and Berdych was a machine, Ferrer was pure, unadulterated suffering. He had no major weapons. He was significantly undersized for the modern game. But he was relentless. He won 27 career titles. He made 52 finals. He grinded his body down to the bone for years, and he fought his way to the 2013 French Open final. And there, across the net on court Philippe Chatrier, stood Rafael Nadal. Ferrer was swept aside in straight sets. He retired knowing he squeezed every single drop of potential out of his body. He maximized his talent more than almost any athlete in history, and it was only good enough to be a footnote in Nadal's biography. Psychologists call this phenomenon learned helplessness. When an animal is subjected to an inescapable negative stimulus over a long period of time, they eventually stop trying to escape. They just accept the pain. This is exactly what the big three did to the locker room. Over a 20-year period, players simply stopped believing they could win. They stepped onto the court already defeated. The aura of the big three was so heavy that the rest of the tour was essentially playing for 4th place. The true psychological trauma of the GOAT generation is that they were forced to dedicate their youths, their bodies, and their minds to a war they were mathematically guaranteed to lose. They were kings in any other era, relegated to being peasants in this one. History is written by the victors. Decades from now, the record books will only show the names Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic. Future generations will look at Wikipedia pages and see an unbroken wall of dominance. But the true scale of the big three's greatness can only be understood by looking at the bodies they left behind. Wilfried Tsonga, Thomas Berdych, and David Ferrer were not failures. They were absolute titans who had the terrifying misfortune of living in the era of gods. They pushed the big three to evolve, to get better, and to become immortal. They are the ghosts of the golden age, and their silence is the loudest testament to the greatest era tennis will ever see.